आइटम नंबर 2528 श्री यशवंत सिन्हा जी सिंह जी यशवंत सिंह।
May I, Mr. Deputy Speaker? May I?
हाँ
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So of the three annual debates at the commencement of the year, the President's address, the Union budget and the railway budget, I incline to the view that the debate on the Union budget is of central significance. I approach this task assigned to me by my party in the absence of my learned colleague, Shri Jaswant Singh, with restraint, the sense of responsibility, and high personal regard for the Honourable the Finance Minister. I defer, sir. I defer, sir, Mr. Finance Minister. I defer, sir, I will say again, Mr. Finance Minister, to your years, your experience in government, but whereas I defer to all that, permit me to differ with you on some of views, more especially the central purpose and focus of this important document of fiscal policy. I am at loss, sir, to grasp what is the central point that you, with all your experience, are trying to deliver to the country. What is the focus that you wish the nation to address to? Is it a reversion to command economy? Is it that you are reasserting the need for a socialist economy? Or are you placing the public sector back on the commanding heights of the economy? I am unable to discern that central purpose, not because, sir, I am deficient in understanding, but because I do hold that this very important document, which comes only once a year, and which is a statement of the fiscal policy of the government, it is this document that is deficient in conveying to us what this is. Why has this happened? I personally feel, sir, that there are far too many economists in this government. I believe that there are more economists infesting this government than any other government since independence. Then if, despite all these economists, all this is happening, then a very serious question is begged. Now there is, the Honourable the Finance Minister is fully familiar with this saying about too many cooks. But these too many cooks are not simply spoiling the broth, Mr. Finance Minister. They are actually not letting the broth to be cooked. And that is why we suffer this deficiency. The budgetary speech that you so eloquently and at such length made is adrift. There are too many demands being placed on it. And therefore, because you're putting too many ingredients into the speech, forgive me for pointing out, it really gets nowhere. So recently, I cite something which I read from James Wilson, who was a very noted investigator of American society, he died on 2nd of March this year. He had taught in Harvard University for 26 years about government. He was a prolific writer, and he was proudest of those items that he investigated the workings of the government. In my own humble way, sir, I too am an investigator of the functionings of government. I share this passion with late James Wilson, and when I examine this document or other aspects, sir, I investigate flawed, hopelessly disjointed, shambling efforts of our government to balance budgets, to run railways, manage coalitions, attend to the demands of an obstreperous parliament, ensure fiscal prudence, all very big goals, all accompanied by bigger boasts, and all, Mr. Finance Minister, on your able shoulders. Now, I wish there were more ministers to share your responsibilities. With all these burdens, along with the burden, I'm told you had to even draft the reply of the Honorable Railway Minister.
I am already overburdened. Don't add to my burden.
That is why, sir, I marvel at your government. I marvel at your government that despite all your efforts, it is still working. That is why also, sir, quite often, before I end the day, I ask myself a question. Is it a government or an illusion? And most of the time, I incline to believe that the government now, sir, that we have the benefit of working under is not just an illusion, it is only a notion. And therefore, sir,
disillusion.
Here there is no illusion.
Disillusion with you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir,
Disillusion.
my good friend Pawan Kumar Ji is making a very philosophical point because सभी कुछ माया है. ये illusion है, ये भी illusion है. So that is why I submit, Mr. Finance Minister, sir, and you would admit I'm not being rude when I say that we are now having to suffer a government that is condemned to perpetual crises, one crisis after another. The other day I said, sir, and I said it in all sincerity, we want you to succeed. I personally am committed to your success because we believe that if you succeed, it's good for the country. But Mr. Finance Minister, sir, your government seems determined. We want you to succeed, but your government seems determined not to succeed. Now, how, therefore, are we to address this problem? You said, sir, the other day, in a different context, that you have managed your coalition much better than we managed. I'm not in a competition of coalition management, but if this is an example of managing coalition very well, तो मुबारक है आपको. आप इसी रास्ते चले जाइए और दिक्कतें हमारी बढ़ जाएंगी. आसान भी हो सकती है. Sir, I wish to add because I've had the benefit of performing just this function which the Honorable the Finance Minister is now performing. You have, of course, performed it with much greater ability than I can possibly command, and also for longer. I think, if I recollect right, sir, I have had the honor and the benefit of presenting 3 or 4 budgets. I first had the same job for a short period in 1996, and thereafter, from 2000 onwards, 2002, I think. Now, I want to share with you for a minute the story of what I call a reluctant finance minister. So this job that you today have is a key ministry. And I'm very glad that you are back in this job after a long gap. We have, Honorable Finance Minister, sir, you and I, we've worked together in Parliament for 63 years. I was counting here. It's a very long period, sir. And we have shared many experiences and many ups and downs. But I tell you candor and honesty that I was assigned a job to perform in the South Block. And one day, Honorable Shilalji Advani called me on the telephone because Prime Minister Vajpayee always assigns us tasks to Advaniji. He called Advaniji and said, tell Jaswant Singh to move from South to North Block. So Advaniji ने हमको टेलीफोन किया, जसवंत सिंह जी आपको नॉर्थ ब्लॉक जाना है. जैसे राजस्थान की हमारी पद्धति है, हमने कहा हुकुम. 8 दिन बीत गए, 10 दिन बीत गए. मेरे दोस्त मुझे टेलीफोन कर करके कहें, कुछ दोस्तों ने विलायत से भी टेलीफोन किया, Jaswant, where are you going? You don't even know the vocabulary of finance. I admit it, I don't know. करीब 12 दिन जब बीत गए, अडवाणी जी ने फिर कहा कि भाई आप गए नहीं. फिर लोगों ने कहा भी that it is very bad policy to keep arguing with the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister for more than 10-12 days. So I chose discretion to be the better part of my resistance, and I walked across from South to North Block. As is usual, sir, there was a lot of press that had collected at the entrance of North Block, and immediately, I hadn't given that, immediately they asked me, what is your policy? On the spur of the moment, Mr. Finance Minister, because it was central to our concerns and my conviction, I shared with them just 2 sentences. करीब